and welcome back to a new installment of the CTM Survival Guide. As always, Rock here, and I know it's been a while, but due to the various factors such as work, personal life, and my other various series that I do record, it's unfortunately been a while since the last CTM Survival Guide. But don't worry, I haven't abandoned it. It's something that I would like to continue to do. It's just a matter of prioritizing it along with everything else. But because we did have a nice free day to do something, I decided the CTM Survival Guide was a perfect opportunity to put an episode out for. So today we're going to be talking about foods. Foods are probably one of the biggest factors in a CTM, at least early on, that can make or break your CTM playing experience, as having too little of it can cause a very big headache. So we're going to be talking about various aspects of food that should hopefully help you understand food a little bit better. So there's first things first, there are three main kind of categories or stats that you have to worry about with food. You have hunger, saturation, and overall their effectiveness. Hunger is how much food that they restore on your food bar. Each heart is pretty much 2 hunger points. So your hunger bar is essentially each little notch of little meat is effectively 2 hunger points. In total, you have 20 hunger points. Saturation is a hidden value that gets depleted before your hunger gets depleted. It also has a 20-point value. Effectiveness with food is kind of a combination. It's essentially the total amount of hunger it restores as well as the saturation it provides. So we'll be doing a quick look through of the various foods of Minecraft and the foods that you could potentially see while doing a CTM, and looking at just kind of their hunger, their saturation, and their overall effectiveness. Now, I won't be reading them all. I will be just kind of looking at the values as I'm going and just kind of peeking along. We are doing this video in Minecraft 1.7, so we do have a lot of the newer fish food, such as clownfish and pufferfish, salmon, and so on and so forth. So, in general, hunger is the biggest thing that you want to pay attention to, but saturation is kind of one of those stats that you want to keep in the back of your mind. The thing with saturation is that the saturation is essentially, it's pretty much, think of it as a hidden bar that looks exactly like your hunger bar, but it's for saturation versus your hunger. Your saturation bar can never go above your hunger bar. So if your hunger bar is at 5, which is 2.5 hearts, the saturation bar can never go above that. So like I said before, each chunk of the hunger bar consists of 2 hunger points. So in total, it's much like your health. Your health is technically 2 points for each heart. Much the same with your hunger bar. So in total, you have 20 hunger points for your hunger bar, and you have 20 points for your saturation bar. So with that, your saturation bar can never go above your hunger bar. Keeping that in mind, some foods are better not to eat while you're low on life versus while you're on high on life, because of the amount of saturation that gets potentially wasted due to this. So say, for example, while we're right here, say we only had 3 hearts. Eating a golden apple, which is pretty much, if we have 3 hearts or 6 hunger bars or hunger points, eating a golden, I totally spelled that wrong, but golden carrot provides 14.4 saturation, meaning that you would waste approximately 8.4 saturation points of this. So a golden carrot, not an apple, would be a poor choice of food to eat if you have a low hunger value. Ideally, you would want to eat a golden carrot when you are roughly at close to 7 or 8 hearts, or sorry, 7 or 8 hearts. You'd want to eat this when you're fairly high life to gain the full amount of saturation that you want. Kind of much the same with steak and pork chops. You want to be a little bit over half life, so it's about 6 hearts would be a good amount to start eating steaks and cooked pork chops. But yeah, so to summarize all of it, when you're low on your hunger bar is low, the best thing to eat is foods that provide very little saturation, in order to not waste too much. Once you start getting into your hunger bar gets a bit fuller, then the higher saturation foods become a lot more useful. One food that you can eat regardless of your hunger bar being full, because in general, as your hunger bar is full, you're not allowed to eat any foods except for golden apples. So as you can see, we have some golden apples here in our inventory. We can luckily eat golden apples even with our hunger bar being full, meaning we would be allowed to charge up our saturation to the full 20 points that we might not normally be able to get to, depending on the order we eat foods and such. So it's some good information to keep in mind with those. There are a few other things. The values that are listed for a few of these foods are based off of if you're able to cure the negative effect, like pretty much as soon as you eat it. So, for example, a pufferfish has an effective value of 1.2. However, due to the hunger 3 that it provides from eating it, and I think nausea as well, the technical effectiveness of a pufferfish, if you're not able to cure the effect of it, is a negative 4.8. So pufferfish are, unless you have a way to clear the effects off you, the potion effects off you, it's an absolutely terrible food to eat, and you should pretty much never eat a pufferfish. Other foods, for example, are raw chicken. They have an effectiveness of 3.2. However, they have a 30% chance of food poisoning. If you do get food poisoned by eating chicken, the effectiveness goes from 3.2 to about 2.075. So eating a raw chicken is still going to have a better effectiveness than eating a potato, for example, but not quite as effective as eating a cookie. Other foods, for example, are rotted flesh, which we could find right here. The rotten flesh has an effectiveness of 4.8. However, it does have an 80% chance of causing food poisoning, or hunger poisoning, food poisoning, which essentially reduces the effectiveness down to 1.8. Still better than potatoes, but they're in general much better to eat in large quantities versus just eating a couple at a time. And then this last one, is the spider eye. The spider eye does have an effectiveness of 5.2. However, it does poison you, effectively reducing its effectiveness down to 2.2. So eating a spider eye is still going to be better than eating a potato. There's a lot of these foods that are going to be still better than eating potato. Except a pufferfish. Pufferfish is a terrible food. So with that, you have a good rough idea of the food effectiveness. What foods are probably going to be better to eat than others. So for example, a baked potato is going to be better to eat than a bread and a cooked fish, whereas a steak and a cooked pork chop are going to be better to eat than chicken and baked potatoes and such, depending on the situation. If you are in need more so of hunger versus saturation, a pumpkin pie is going to be really good because of its 8 hunger with its low saturation versus, something else. 8 hunger versus 12.8 saturation. So it's all very situational. But in general, if you're looking for a food that has the best hunger, pumpkin pie, steak, and cooked pork chops provide a 8 hunger. For foods with the best saturation, a golden carrot, not a golden apple, provides a 14.4 saturation. And the overall best effectiveness is a steak and a cooked pork chop. And I'm not used to this 1.7 stuff yet, so my sounds are not down yet. One thing I would like to leave you off with, in order to help you gather food a little bit easier, to make food gathering a little bit easier on yourself, is that one thing to note is that in general, as you can see, we're getting about three carrots, 3 carrots or so from just regular harvesting of these. One thing to note, it looks like 1 to 3. One thing to note is that fortune does work on carrot gathering and stuff like this. So we went 4 to 8, so we're getting 4. So if you do have a fortune something, it is best to use that on food harvesting of potatoes and carrots. Using on wheat won't provide you with more wheat, it'll provide you with more seeds. So stuff like potatoes and carrots, if you do have a fortune item, it is best to save it and use it for your farms, because harvesting food with it, 7 to 14, see, as you went 7 to 14 right there. So as you can see, fortune does provide a pretty significant advantage. So I've been going at, if you do have a fortune item, it's best to save it and use it in your farms versus using it out in whatever you have. And because it is an instant break item, it does not reduce the durability on the item. So regardless of what the item is, if it has fortune on it, it's best to use it in your farms to make food harvesting significantly easier. So with that, we'll be calling that for an episode. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or feedback, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you have ideas for a future episode, also feel free to leave a comment. As always, this is Rock, and I'll catch you guys next time.